It's so frustrating because there are things they like briefly touch on an element where if they went deeper, it could be interesting. Like it could be interesting from this perspective of somebody who feels like they're capable of like giving off so much love and loving people this way, and to have it always pushed back and never accepted or never embraced. Like there are levels that you could get to where one, people in the audience could have like an understanding of how that feels, and two, it could really start to define and dig into the differences between the Jedi and the Sith and embracing your passions, like all these other things. But as soon as they get close enough to do anything about it, it's gone. The moment is gone. Somebody walks away or the scene cuts to black or whatever.
Well, the power goes out.
Yeah, that is one of the most it's such a cheap writing trick, and they do it all the time in this episode. A character is about to say something actually important that will move the plot forward or tell us something that we didn't know before, and then boom, there'll be an interruption of some kind. And then once that thing is resolved, they're just like, I'm not in the mood anymore. I'm just not feeling it. I'm going to go off and do something else. Like, oh, okay, cool. So that whole thing's going to get unresolved until the script decides it's okay for us to do this. This is just a cheap way of spinning out a really simple story into like 8 episodes. There's nowhere near enough material for that.
The slower it gets as well, the more it feels like it's been written with the presumption that they have a season 2. And I think Headland has said that she had originally planned for Smilo's reveal to be a season 2 thing, not a season 1 thing.
Wow.
Because it's not an excuse for wasting so much time, because episodes 4 and 6 have been just filler nonsense. But even so, like the longer it takes to get there, the more I can see us getting to the end of episode 8, and it'll be like, cliffhanger. Aren't you looking forward to seeing what all the answers to all of these mysteries are? Because we haven't actually bothered answering any of them. Instead, we've just had a walking simulator and a talking simulator for 2 episodes.
I think the funny thing about it is that the only things we really care about are not what we should care about for a show like this. We should be caring a lot about May and Osha. They are the lead characters of this series.
Yeah.
But nobody gives a fuck about them. We're all worried about ancillary stuff like, oh, I wonder who the actual Sith Master is. I wonder how he got those scars. Like those are the things we're theorizing and talking about. We're not talking about the main characters because, quite frankly, no one gives a shit.
There's nothing to talk about. It's like, they're not characters. Like they don't have any definable personalities. There's really not much to grapple with in terms of what they want and who they are, and they're played by an apathetic actor in Amandla Stenberg who just conveys nothing in her scenes. So I'm just bored every time I see her on screen.
And at least with the way they drive it forward as well. I think there are 14 separate occasions in which May switches motivations for no discernible reason, and that most of them are mutually contradictory. So like, there's no character there. There's about 14 different characters, and they couldn't decide which one to run with. Osha's different. Osha isn't a character because they haven't even started trying to work out who she is and what she wants, which is why whenever they have to move the scene along, they tend to knock her out so she can wake up later, having been taken somewhere when she has no like actual incentive to go there. She doesn't drive the story. None of her decisions matter. She just gets knocked out and then wakes up, and then we're somewhere else. Then she gets knocked out, wakes up, and we're somewhere else. And that's what you do if you have no idea why your character would want to be anywhere. You just make them unconscious and drag them from scene to scene. It's not how protagonists are written, but she is supposed to be the protagonist.
Yeah.
Theoretically, yeah. I mean,
it's happened more times than you can count for each of them to wake up and like shocked and like have to gather their surroundings and everything. It happens all the time. Episode 5 started off with that, with her being knocked out from Smilo and like waking up in a start. Episode 6 started the exact same fucking way.
Yeah.
God, you're right.
Don't they do the same camera angles as well, where it's like horizontal, like matching her position, and then when she sits up, it tracks her, so like the world kind of seems to move around her. I'm sure they've done that like multiple times as well.
When we first met Osha, she woke up that way.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's...
And then she got knocked out on the prison thing when they were crashing.
She woke up again.
She woke up with a start.
God,
That's what I'm saying. Like it happens all the time.
She must have some kind of severe brain damage by this point, with all like the concussions and getting knocked out constantly.
Well, she did read the script, so.
You know what's funny is after 6 episodes, what's the bad guy's name?
Chimere.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's a bit of a stretch. Everyone just knows him as Smilo Ren.
Because even the
Probably
captions,
a fake name.
Because even the captions say the stranger. I was watching it.
That's what they're trying to like promote him as, the stranger. That's what all like the merchandise is being sold as and everything.
Yeah.
Isn't that a masturbation move where you sit on your hand for a while until you can't feel it and then off you go?
I've never masturbated in my life. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Fair enough. Moving on.
God, I hate you, Ryan.
I will say, like, the actor who plays him, Manny Jacinto, is it? Like, he's actually pretty good at what he does. This is the frustrating thing. There are a few good actors here doing their very best with some really terrible material. And I could see in a different reality with a good script, this show could be great with them. Like, they would be fantastic additions. He would make for a really interesting, charismatic villain. But man, he's got so little to work with here.
Yeah, the poor guy who plays Saul. Like you said, he had to learn English for this role. That guy is trying his ass off with the shit material they're giving him.
Mm-hmm.
There was a couple moments, when he was reporting in that his whole team had died, where his like lip is quavering and everything. And it's like he is doing his damnedest to act, but he's not given a ton to work with.
No.
And it was easier to like as well before they'd started destroying his character, which they've now very firmly started doing. So like, I'm losing sympathy even for him now, because at least back when like episode 1, episode 2, he seemed like a nice guy and the actor was doing really, really well. And the character seemed like someone I could kind of get on with. But now he's basically let his Padawan die for no reason. He's definitely probably complicit in a genocide of some sort. And he's going to have a heel turn at some point in the next episode, maybe in a flashback or something. And then he'll just be a dick like everybody else. No one to like.
Yeah,
I very much hate it in shows like this, because at least with Fallout, it was all out, so I could just go find out what the motivations of everyone was. Sure. But this, like, I know that whatever they tell us about Soul is going to destroy everything for the whole of the season. But I got to wait weeks. I can't I can't properly explain what I believe is completely wrong about everything he's done yet. I have to wait. Like the whole, I'm going to call it in. Oh, your communications are frazzly. I'm going to call it in. Oh, your power went down. Oh, your power goes back up. But that's when he figures out May is May, or that's when the fucking goober tells him. And so he's like,
which
right, I'm
one
out.
is it?
Don't know, but the point, of course, is that meant that he just, by the nick of time, couldn't get all of that very crucial information to the Jedi, and simultaneously leaves a split second before they arrive in almost the exact same place. In the outer rim.
This is something like I need clarification on this, right? So the communications array was on the fritz, and so he was only able to get a little bit of his message through to Jedi headquarters.
Which
was that because anyone had sabotaged it? Had May done it? Or had Basil done it?
It doesn't look like it.
So it was just really fucking convenient that it happened.
Yeah.
Like at least if May's doing it, it's still a little whatever, but it's like, okay, she's trying to prevent him from doing this, but also why wouldn't she just kill him? I don't know why May hasn't killed Saul.
Oh my God, the amount of fucking time she has changed her mode of operation. She decided not to, and then she decided to when she was in the ship. What the fuck?
I don't understand this, because in the previous episode, she had an opportunity to kill him when he was just getting up off the ground. She comes in pretending to be Osha. Okay, fine. She goes off with him. Fine. You presumably want to get information of some kind out of him before you kill him. That perhaps makes sense. That's why you're impersonating Osha. Then she gets on the ship. She gets a knife. She heads up to the cockpit to kill him. Why? You could have killed him on the planet right there and then left if that's all you wanted to do. So why are you heading up there now as if you're going to murder him?
You know, she could have completed the task too. She stun gunned him, and then she could have broken his neck and been like, I did it without a weapon. Yay, look at me go.
Yay, me. Yeah.
Just like my boss taught me.
It's absurd. And then, the power goes out. Is that Basil that did that? I assume he did that so that someone would have to go down to the maintenance bay to.
That makes no sense. Power. Why would he do that? Why would.
Well, why would he dance around for 10 seconds showing how strong he is before attempting to gnaw her knee off?
Nothing fucking makes sense here. That whole sequence was so excruciatingly, cringe-inducingly awful.
You know, I heard Shad came up with a theory. He said that he thought that, is it possible that Soul was the one that sabotaged the communications on purpose in order to get May to try and say more things before he was going to... And I was just like, everyone's trying to come up with an explanation.
it makes just as much sense as anything else.
It's good. You got nothing to work with.
And it almost makes more sense because the idea that Soul wouldn't immediately know who that fucking is wild.
Yeah.
It's insane.
And I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Like, a lot of people concluded he knew the whole time was fucking with it. I got the impression it was the goober that told him.
Exactly. I agree.
Well, when he stuns May and she falls to the ground, like the fucking Basil is right behind him. Like, they wouldn't have shown him being there unless he'd somehow conveyed a message to Saul. But then I don't know how he was able to do that, because he can't speak Saul's language and Saul can't understand him.
They actually set that up in episode 4 when Yord says, well, he's the only one who learned to speak Beaver because it's more sophisticated than speaking Wookiee, for fucking hell. I thought they were going to use that somehow. And then I also thought they were going to use, because Osha has the tattoo on her arm that Sol calls out in episode 2. And I thought, well, that might be a way that he figures it out. Because, you've put these things in your script. It would make sense if you used some of them, but no. Fuck it all.
It's so wildly retarded to have a member of your team who literally only one person can communicate with. And if that person's not there at the time or gets killed or whatever, that's it. Basil can't talk to anyone. There's no droid that can translate for him, apparently. He can't just type into a keypad or something, like the message.
Even though
he wants to
Jackie has
say.
a translator, which he uses in 4, and then he doesn't have that. But then it turns out you don't even need Basil to guide you, because the green woman can walk into the forest anyway, and she doesn't have a fucking guide. So, why is the beaver even there?
And he can speak to the droid, though, right? Basil?
He can speak to the Pip droid?
Yes.
So if Basil can speak to the droid, and Osha can speak to the droid, then
Osha's but in this instance, Osha's not there, so Basil's faced with the problem that he needs to warn Saul about the infiltrator.
I'm just saying that,
in general,
there's ways around all of this that they're all too stupid to make use of.
And the only reason that they needed Basil was because for some reason the plot required them to get this what they thought would be cute furry little animal, because that's the only way they could find Kelnaka, because they happened to have a scrap of his clothing, even though he hadn't been seen by anybody in years. But they have a scrap of the Wookiee's clothing there.
Why do Wookiees wear clothes anyway?
Well, he actually doesn't. In the final scene of episode 2, he's not wearing clothes. And at some point between episode 2 and episode 4, they remembered he probably should be wearing clothes, so they put him back on again.
He would be wearing Jedi robes
before killing him.
Like, if he was out doing whatever, he would be wearing Jedi robes. But still, it's dumb. It was just hanging out. He's hanging dong back at his hut. No one's coming in there to get his grass stew. But the point you said about them leaving. What? I don't even know where Sol is going. I don't know.
No, I don't either.
I don't know where he's going. Where he jumped to hyperspace to, I'm not sure.
It's going to be Brendock, isn't it?
I guess maybe he could be going back to Brendock, to where it all started. Maybe the mothers are still hanging out there or something. Maybe they're all alive. That'll get revealed. But the idea, and this has happened multiple times in this series, where it takes no time at all to get anywhere. Think about this. They called in before the comms failure, which took about 5 minutes to reset. Before the comms failure, they called in the Jedi. Mog was on the other end of the phone. Mog, the Padawan, delivers that message to Vernestra. They get together a strike team. Hey, we're going to take off in 20 minutes, blah, blah, blah. They get in. It's in the outer rim. So they're telling you it's in the outer edge of the galaxy. Coruscant is in the core. You're talking about something that should take days, if not a week, to get there. They get there probably in the time it takes the power to go down and then for them to recycle it, maybe 30 or 45 minutes, maybe an hour max. That's the amount of time that it took from them to get to Coruscant to there. It was instantaneous. It's nonsensical. You couldn't have had another scene in there that just shows us maybe some fucking time passed before the Jedi were able to get there, but no. Why would you even use a holocom? Why, if it takes 30 minutes to get somewhere, why would you even bother using a holocom to communicate?
Even if they had that scene, though, they would have forgotten the ordering that they put things in, because that happens a lot as well. So, end of episode 5, Squid Game and May get back to the ship, and the beginning of episode 6, they've actually not left yet. But in the time it's taken them to walk on board their ship, the others have spent 3 hours walking out of the forest back to their ship, and then hyperspaced all the way over to unknown planet, wherever the hell that turns out to be. Which I think the same thing happened in episode 2 as well, where they're still on the planet and they really should have left because events everywhere else are already proceeding. They have no concept of time. It just, you can't really string any kind of tension in a show which doesn't do time at all.